And hello, everyone. Andy Lindahl, Scott Hastings. We need to get a little, official roll, official open for this now because we can do that, get some video, all that. I'm learning about all the fun things you can play with on the sides now that we're on the Altitude channel. It's Hot Mike with Hastings and Lindahl. Says it right there. Go ahead and send us a comment if you want. Before we talk anything local, are you going to watch this Dallas Lakers game? Do you care?
Um, I've had some notifications. I saw TNT, but I'm watching currently HGTV International House Hunters, and this family's trying to find a house in Costa Rica, and the woman probably ought to jog a little bit, but she's all worried because she works at home, duh, and everything's not good enough for her. And I was like, golly, you're going to live in Costa Rica. You're going to buy like a semi mansion for $400,000, and you're going to live in perfect climate until the hurricanes come.
You know what you're not going to do? Live in a van down by the river.
Right there.
So,
Right there.
um, yeah. You got it's a little squirrely right now. We need you to
Well,
thicken that thing up.
I haven't showered or put a little conditioner in today. And in fact, I haven't showered this morning, or today.
Well, that's good for you being in a room by yourself and able to do that. All right, real quick. You know what? There's a lot of Broncos stuff I want to talk to you about because it's a massive day at the NFL Combine. But I do want to ask you before we talk about last night's game, what did you think of?
You're gonna ask me about my famous picture now.
No, we'll get into that. Don't you worry. That's coming up. All in due time, Scott Hastings. I would ask you though, what'd you make of the Laker game? Because it's annoying as hell because ESPN can't quit talking about it. And it's funny because ESPN will tell you that, the Nuggets, I don't really buy them, but the Lakers whooping the Nuggets, that's a reason to believe that the Lakers are the most dangerous team in the West. What is it, dude? Which is it?
Well, let me just say this, and you're forgetting that we've had a good friend that worked for ESPN, and basically, we're told that the Lakers have to be in their storyline every single day if possible.
They're the basketball Cowboys.
Yeah, and you've always got to have something in there because they sell. They played great. I talked to the Laker people during the game, John Ireland, at halftime, and he said, "This is the best we've played all year." So they played good. Give them that, and good. The Nuggets, I thought, played the Laker game like they played the Charlotte game. You know, the easiest shot in basketball to get is a 3-pointer. You shot 48 against Charlotte. You shot 41 against the Laker. You're number one in the league in points in the paint. Number one in the league running. You didn't want to do that. You were way down. You got out. I think your points in the paint were you're minus 20 some against the Lakers. You weren't in work mode yet. You were still on vacation. You were in the Bahamas and Costa Rica and Cozumel and Cabo and Vegas. And this has come out in Charlotte. Oh, we got an easy win. Look at that. We shot 48 threes, hit those threes. Look how good. Oh, let's do the same thing in the Lakers. And the Lakers decided, no, we're going to play chili ball. We're going to play like Minnesota did you in the second round last year. And we're going to get up in everybody and see what they do. Well, they proved one thing. One is getting the ball, especially you say, well, the easy answer, go post up Nicola.
Right.
That's a dependent position now. You got to get the ball there. If not, we're going to double team you right away. He had 2 and 3 guys running. He'd make cuts across the league. You had 2 and 3 dudes always hitting him. And it made it tough for them to get him the rock. And let's be honest, I don't think they're real skilled passers themselves to get the ball into Nicola. I heard somebody say this was a coming out party for Luka Doncic as a Laker.
And he's feeling his old self again.
And I'm like, does this surprise you? I mean, the guy's supposed to be the new face of the league. Everybody had him as a preseason MVP candidate. He hadn't been great in a couple games. Oh, by the way, he was coming off a calf injury. So he had a great game. The coming out party was J.J. Redick. That was the best job of coaching I've seen in the NBA this year. It was brilliant. To me, we know what Luka Doncic is going to do for the rest of the year and the rest of his career. we don't or didn't know what JJ Redick was capable of doing. He showed a big piece of what he's capable of doing. Um, that was my biggest surprise. But you know what? Sometimes I think you need to get kicked in the ass. And now you come back, you start a 4-game road trip. All 4 teams that you're playing are in the playoffs. I think you're are in the Eastern Conference playoffs, right? You got Boston's number 2. Detroit's up there now, like at 6 or 7. I think Indiana was 4 or 5. Milwaukee's 3. and here you go. Let's go. Well,
Yeah, hey,
what?
I'm with you. Let's find out.
Yeah,
Let's
and you
just
know what
find
you
out
did?
right now.
And you
So,
went back and you shot 21 threes instead of 48 and 41. Oh, excuse me. Now we get 74 points in the paint, instead of, I think, 32 in the Laker game. You went back and played your brand of basketball, and it was a lot better to look at.
yeah,
You want to survive this thing, win as many games you possibly can. Try to get that 2 or 3. It'd be great to get the 2 seed. 3 seed, you're going to be fine. 2 would be better, but that whatever. You get one of those 2 seeds. You stay away from Oklahoma City to the finals, Western Conference Finals, and then let's see what happens, because that's the real season. All you're doing now is playing for a number beside your name. That's all you're doing.
I'm with you. And look, we've learned that you don't necessarily need home court advantage, but I'm with you. I'd rather have home court over Memphis if you could than not, because that's who you're kind of battling and leapfrogging and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Look, I'm not saying that Zeke Najee is going to be a rotational player. I think you and I know that, or not a rotational player, but not a rotational playoff player. But if he can give you another 24 minutes like he did last night, you know what I mean? And he can be viable and he can give Joker some rest. And look, in the 2 non-Joker stints, correct me if I'm wrong. First off, the first time in the second quarter, you increased the lead to 13. Then in the fourth quarter, you held serve on the lead. He didn't come back in until after 8 minutes left. So,
well, when things are going good, Joker comes in with 6 something on the clock.
you like 6 something rather than 7 something?
When 6 something means something's going really good. 7 something, okay. Anything over 8, panic. And they had a 17-point lead coming in. Joker came back in, it was 9 or 8.
Okay, I thought it was 10 in the fourth quarter, but I'll trust you.
Yeah, no, it was 17 going into the fourth. And they cut it down real fast to where and I said this on the radio show today. If you watched any of that or read any of the stuff on the Oklahoma City and Minnesota game, and you always wonder why the heck is Malone putting Joker back in? You had a 25-point lead. It's only 16. Well, guess what? They had a point lead with 4 minutes to go, and Minnesota came back and won that joke. That's why Malone and coaches put their starters back in. But no, listen, they played well, did what they needed to do, and I'll say this about Zeke: he's not a 5; he's playing better at the 4. And another example, go and look at the minutes, especially the first half when Gordon got into foul trouble. The number of minutes that Zeke had to play. How many games have you seen the previous however many in Zeke's career where he got 2 lobs in a game in the paint from Joker? He was taking over from that Gordon's role, right? It's funny how guys that we crush and need to do this, they're not all that. They should be better and blah, blah, blah. And they play with Nikola Jokic and they look pretty good.
They're viable players.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how that works. Hey, go back and look at Will Barton, his years in Portland, then go his years here with Joker, and then go and look at his 2 years in Washington after and how that turned out.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. All I'm asking, here's what I think is a positive. Michael Malone has known that once you get in his doghouse, you can't get out. But I'm glad you at least gave the guys some run again. Scotty, I'm just talking about trying to find some guys to get you through the end of this year so Joker isn't gassed, A, by the time we get to the playoffs, and B, so Aaron Gordon can get through this calf thing. You've said it. You and I know it. I've had a calf deal like that. Now, lucky for me, it just cost my fat ass a season of summer softball. Who cares? But we need Aaron Gordon right for the playoffs. And you got to trust, like, again, I'm glad Malone at least showed I'll give you another shot. Because let's be honest, he didn't look great in the Laker game. You're looking at Zeke going, I don't know if you should be playing this guy again. Are we back to old Zeke? At least you let him get back out there and show some stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just think it's some of what you got to do to get through this regular season so guys aren't gassed by the time we start the playoffs.
If things would go the way that us Nuggets fans would hope they go, we're going to see a long playoff run from the Nuggets. That being said, you're going to need 3 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 12 minutes there, in between the next, the 30 games that will entail postseason. You're going to need bodies, and it may not be a regular rotation, and I'll give an example. I thought he was absolutely fantastic last night. Jalen Pickett comes in and gets 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. You got, one guy in foul trouble, and Russ, you're trying not to run into the ground. He's still coming back from injury. You have to put Pickett in. Dude, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he did some really good things. So,
yeah, it's
all
by
good
the way,
experience.
shout out to Brian here. So, he's checking in. Care Bears here, Danny. So, hello, folks.
Hey, who's the guy that just wrote Nuggets haven't won a playoff series without home court advantage?
That's Brian.
Okay, Brian, I'll ask you this then. How many games did Miami win in Miami when Denver played them?
None.
Yeah, none. How many games did the Lakers win at home when Denver played them?
Was it one?
None.
None. Okay,
None.
that's right. It was a sweep. You're right. Phoenix won one at home, right?
One.
No, they won two at home. The Nuggets, because then the Nuggets, that was the only 6-game series they had.
And now we can say it. Can I now say it and be honest what happened that game? Because you beat the snot out of them the 2 games in Denver. You go there and get beat. Two really close games. You had an opportunity in both games. There was a handful of dudes went on vacation.
Oh, yeah.
We went to Vegas, went to Scottsdale. We're in a nice little resort. We got
family
pool
around
and fun stuff and everything around. And I'll bet you Denver, the players had 75 family members down for that trip. That ain't a work trip.
Yeah, it feels like the Pro Bowl a little bit.
It felt like a Pro Bowl.
Bring your family, free trip.
And then you lost 2. You come back home, take care of business, and then beat the snot out. Because guess who wasn't there for Game 5? Oh, was it 1, 2, 3? Game 6. Guess who wasn't there? Game 6.
The family.
Anybody.
Right. I remember you talking about that.
And you beat them by 40.
Yeah, and you just come off a Minnesota series where it's still April. It's still a little chilly in some of these places. Look, I dealt that with when Tebow won that game in Miami with the comeback in 2011. I still remember, I think I told you, that's where I got a taste for some of what you're talking about. We went down to Miami on Friday. The game wasn't until Sunday. Everybody was using the old guise of, we got to get used to the time difference, and you don't get used to the time difference in 2 days. And we were in literally a private beachside resort, like private beach resort. I remember I had to go sit with some clients, for KOA, one of the salespeople giving the hoity-toity treatment, and Dave and who was doing, maybe it was Dave and Greasy. Can't remember if it was Greasy or Ed, but they were doing other stuff. And so they was like, Andy, please just come sit at this client dinner. We're having unshelled lobster and it was just unbelievable. And I remember thinking, because it was about Halloween, I remember thinking, this is how teams get in trouble. This is why the Avs go to California in the dead middle of winter and they look sorry against good team or bad teams because, it's all of a sudden you feel like you're on vacation. So,
well, it's funny. I sat and spoke with Sean Payton last night at the game, and he was telling a story. And I guess he knew Rick because Rick was in Dallas, I guess, in the '90s, and I think Sean might have been before he took the head coaching job in New Orleans. And so he said Rick told him, remember, they played Miami in an earlier series and handled them pretty good the first 2 games at home. Went down to Miami, and I got to believe a lot of this, what we're talking about, took place. He said, I didn't realize how big of a distraction Miami is.
Right.
So now you got to go there. And I think that was still when they were going 2-3-2, and they had to play 3 games down there. And he said, we did not handle it well. And I can imagine partying, hot weather, stayed out there, nice pool. You probably had everybody bringing their families down there, for a week-long vacation. There's no focus. Coaches in the regular season tell you they love long road trips. Bednar's talked about it because now we get you in there. Now it's us.
Right.
We got a captive audience for basically 20 hours of the day or 15 hours of the day anyway. And you're on a bus or you're in a meeting, you're getting stretched, you're getting worked out, you're doing this, you're having dinner together, blah, blah, blah. But now all of a sudden you add, everybody has family members. That stops.
So is this the guy you met last night?
Oh,
Was
that's
that it?
yeah, my best friend right there.
I want to tell you about my best friend. So yeah, you met Sean Payton. How'd that go? I only caught part of your story on the radio today because I was running around a bit. So for those that don't miss the show, Scotty's on noon to 3. I'm on 3 to 6. We love y'all. We hear every year people are listening to the radio less and less. So please do us a favor and don't fall into that if you'd like us all to stay around.
Oh, yeah.
But tell me about that. How'd it go? Did you have a real conversation with him? Was he
Yeah,
aware
you know what?
that you got a rep about him, or what? How'd that all go?
No, I did. The head of PR came over and said, "Hey, Scott," I went over and talked to him first. He goes, "Have you ever met Sean?" I go, "No, not met him." He goes, "Come on, let me introduce you." Patrick with a sly twinkle in his eye because I'm sure he's gotten reports.
Patrick knows.
Yeah.
Trust me. It's his job to know.
And Sean was gracious. He was great. We talked probably 20 minutes, at least 15, 20 minutes. He told some stories. I told some stories. Turns out, Malone said at the post game, he didn't realize he was such a big hoops fan. But he was a Bad Boys fan, loved what the Bad Boys did. He was in Chicago at the time. And then it turned out we had a friend. In fact, the mutual friend who passed away last July, mutual friend's son is on Sean's coaching staff here in Denver. And I didn't realize he was good friends with this guy, and I had become pretty good friends with this guy, and talked about it. And I asked because I thought he'd passed, and he passed. Goes, yeah, and he goes, "Did you know him?" I go, "Yeah." I said, "I've been trying to get a hold of him for the last year or two, and I heard he passed." And then he tells me how he's known him forever, and he actually was doing some stuff with Reggie Bush when they drafted him, and that's how he got to know the guy. So yeah, man, we had I was blown away. Yeah, I walk over there ready to, thinking there's going to be a little kung fu fighting.
Yeah.
And it turned out absolutely fabulous, just fabulous. He's super nice, very accommodating, and I think he had a good time.
Well, good for him. Look, I will just put out there, I don't know that he treats everybody around the office the way that Shanahan did. I know there's a lot of people like Sean Payton. A lot of people. I know there's a fun guy to be around in there. I'm just not sure everybody equally gets to see it, and that's more my issue with it. But whatever.
The one thing we were talking about, and where I really got a neat impression of him, he was at the game when Nuggets clinched the championship.
Okay.
And I really felt from the conversation that he was taken aback by the fans and the crowd and the energy. And I really do think he's a sports junkie. I got that take from him. And I thought he was really impressed by the fans and the enthusiasm of the night. Hard not to, I guess, if you were there for that night. And so I thought that was kind of cool. And also, and I said this on the show too, I from just talking about him, and we didn't mention names and say, what happened to Russ? But after he's telling me about it, he loved the bad boys, loved this, but a competitor, and we're talking all this stuff. I'm going, I know why he had a problem with Russ. I don't think it had anything to do that Russ couldn't play anymore. Because I think Russ can still play. Is he the same thing he was at 26 or 7? Probably not. But Russ can still throw the ball. He can still drop it in there, blah, blah, blah. I think he thought Russ was soft.
And he hates soft players.
And I don't think he likes softness when it comes to football players. And just the conversations on other stuff, on basketball, on, Pistons and the bad boys. And I was telling him about, the game 7 with the Scottie Pippen game. He was like at game 6 in Chicago or something, and if he liked the Pistons, and he's probably not a big fan of soft. And
No,
it hit me. And I was thinking that while I was talking to him, he thought Russ was soft.
don't you think he probably thought the same about Justin Simmons? I'm not saying I agree with it, but couldn't you see him maybe giving Simmons that impression, or Simmons giving him that impression? Because Simmons wasn't our guy Atwater. Simmons wasn't our guy Dennis Smith. He was a different type of safety. So I think that's why both those guys are gone.
He wasn't Jackson.
No, he's not. He's your center fielder. He's your cerebral guy. He's making sure everybody's in the right spot. I think you need a guy like that. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Justin Simmons is going to go run down Derrick Henry and put him on his rear end, or step up. I'd love to see Steve Atwater take a crack at Henry. As you know, that's my guy. But remember, Christian Okoye, people forget, Christian Okoye went about 235 back in the day. They call him the Nigerian Nightmare for a reason. He was kind of that Derrick Henry type. He just didn't have the career that Henry did. So, and frankly, they were allowed to come in there and give you CTE. Henry doesn't play in that era of football.
After that hit on Christian Okoye was never the same.
No, because the mystique was gone.
Yeah, just like the Super Bowl 50 team took the soul of
Cam Newton,
and they did. They took the mysteriousness. Steve Atwater took the bottle of mysteriousness out of Christian Okoye.
Oh yeah. Well, and then everybody wanted to do that. Look, man, I recommend anybody that actually loves football hitting go watch the highlights of Atwater and Smith in the secondary. We've talked about it before on this podcast. I've had this podcast for 5 years. If you're just finding it, congratulations. We're glad to have you. We do it every week. Try to shoot for Wednesdays, but like Scotty doesn't have a game tomorrow night. The Avalanche do, and we normally do it around 9:00, and that would be between the pipes time. So here we are on a Tuesday. For those new to the Altitude channel, we'll be getting it on, but we do have to work around game schedules, whether Scotty's calling it or the Avs are on or whatever. We do have an Avs question from Kelton. Kelton, we will get to it, but I got to tell you, I know Tyler kind of poo-pooed it today. Sean had an answer at the podium when asked about what's the best weapon he could find for Bo Nix, and he said, look, the best weapon may be a defensive end, maybe a linebacker, maybe an offensive guard. He goes, I'm building a team. That has become my favorite Sean Payton answer now of his era. Again, I don't expect the Broncos to compete necessarily for the Super Bowl next year. I hope they ratchet up and get a playoff win and all that kind of stuff, maybe move up the seeding cycle, maybe challenge for the division. But there's no need for you. I do think there's something to be said about building the most complete team possible. Jalen Hurts has a complete team around him. Mahomes has a complete team around him. Guess who doesn't always have a complete team around him? Josh Allen. What usually happens? He's disappointed in the playoffs. You know what I mean? I'm all for building the best team possible, because this thing ain't going to be about Bo Nix and his top target ever. You know what I mean? It's going to be about the collective overall. Let's go back to the Super Bowl years. It wasn't about just John Elway and Shannon Sharp. It was about John and Eddie and Rod Smith and Terrell Davis and Atwater and Alfred Williams and Bill Romanowski and Darian Gordon, guys like that, man. You get a lot for a Super Bowl.
Who are the two quarterbacks in our kind of grown men era of teams? What? And I'll just cut it short because we know it's Brady and Mahomes.
Yep.
What if you were to say, if I were to ask you right now, Brady's top receiver, his go-to guy during the majority of those Super Bowls and what he liked to throw to, who did it seem like who that guy was?
Gronk.
Rob Gronkowski, right? Who would you say the Mahomes has been?
Kelsey.
And I know Brady did. And I know they had Edelman for a little bit, and they had what was that other slot guy they had in there sometime either before or after? Wes Welker was in there, and then
Brandon Stokely was a guy for a while.
A championship, and they had some other guys who were okay. You know, they had Hill there for a little bit in Kansas City, but guess what? They won a couple after Hill left. If you're going to get him a weapon, go get him a tight end. You know, if you're going free agents, go get Juwan Johnson if you think he's that guy. If you can get one of those guys, the guy from Ohio State or Michigan, I'll be real honest with you. I'm afraid of tight ends from Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. Now, I'm not. And look, for everybody that wants to know why I have such a hard on for Brock Bowers last year, it was not only watching him, but when Nick Saban, Brian Dable told the story that I'd heard through a couple people. Nick Saban was asked by some of his proteges, who would you worry about in this draft? And he said, Bowers is a problem. Every time we faced Bowers, I didn't really have the answers for him. That's why I liked him. I've yet to hear that about Ty Warren, but we'll see. And it comes out to get the Michigan kid, and we'll get his name down sooner or later. And I'm sure our guy Brian probably knows it, if not someone else. But he's got a shoulder injury came out today. He's got a shoulder injury, and the doctor had to speak. Well, he'll be ready to go by training camp. Bro, I've heard that before. Okay?
Yep.
I don't know that I want you risking that at 20. Hey, I want to also go on your tight end theme. You heard us talking about it last week in Great Pairs in Denver history. Who was John Elway's leading receiver through his career? Do you remember who it was?
My first guess would be Shannon Sharp.
It's Shannon. Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
So you're right. And look, I just think every special offense in the modern times has a tight end that's a problem. Julius Thomas, we thought was on his way to being one of the best tight ends ever. He was a big cog in the 2013 greatest all-time stat-wise offense that's out there. Shannon Sharp, obviously a part of the Elway offenses. You know, you could go on with Kelsey. You could go on with Tony Gonzalez. You got to have a good tight end. Even Owen Daniel maybe wasn't a world beater, but without Owen Daniel, Broncos ain't getting that Super Bowl that year. He caught both the touchdowns in the freaking AFC Championship game.
Yep.
So I'm just saying. T-Bone says, look up Tony Franklin's stats at Oregon with Bo Nix. He can be a weapon. He'll get there. I have faith in him. All right, T-Bone, I'm glad you do. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know.
Well,
I hope so. I hope T-Bone, I hope you're right because he's already on the roster. So
how much faith did you have on Mims after his first year?
Me?
Yeah.
You got to remember, I got the scout Jeff Legwold in my ear, so I believe there. And here's what I saw that made me not want to give up on Mims. Mims made a lot of tough 50-50 ball catches in the camp practices we got to watch.
Right.
So now look, again, I am not counting out Troy Franklin. I think what Sean Payton and Michael Malone have in common, they don't love playing rookies, and so hopefully next year everything gets settled.
That's my take on Franklin too, to be honest with you. I thought there was a big jump from Mims' rookie year to the next year. I think Franklin will have the jump too. I think Vele, who they completely forgot about early, and then they got him in the middle and went, oh my gosh, this guy's pretty good. And again, another guy that you and I were out there probably 90% of camp practices. He didn't drop a ball.
No.
He was catching everything. So I think he'll be okay too. I would not pay for Godwin. Godwin had a stretch this year. Was it this year or last year? A real bad stretch of drops. And
yep.
I think he's 31 now, something like that. You want to pay a guy $25 million who's 31 wide receiver?
Scotty, let me ask you this. How long before, along those lines, how long before we get to receivers are the next running backs where there's so many good ones now every year, you don't have to get them even in the first round, and you certainly don't have to necessarily pay them via free agency.
Yep.
Because there's another great crop. Like, you can find them all over the draft. Remember, Justin Jefferson is the best of his class, and he was the last one taken of the top 5 or whatever.
Well, listen, Debo Samuels, everybody in the world was looking for him 2 years ago, and now this year he's going to be eligible. Who was the MVP of the Super Bowl when the Rams won?
Cooper Cup, wasn't
Cooper
it?
Cup. He's available now. They say because I think there are teams that are saying that. Listen, we can find guys.
Well, remember when the Broncos had signed both DT and Emmanuel Sanders, ate up all their cap space. That's why they ended up getting rid of him. You know, and now look, DT was just on his last leg. The Broncos knew they were bad and could get a draft pick for DT. It bums me out because I wish he'd have been a Bronco his whole career. But, you know, look, I just think receivers right now are getting paid. They better enjoy it. Now, what I think about T. Higgins, I was telling you last year during August, why don't we go think about a T. Higgins and trade for him and try to control the market? By the way, you know, the Bengals GM at the Combine today was out there popping off about how they can keep everybody and we got the money and we're going to da-da-da-da. You know, there's that saying the kids have of cap and no cap. All T. Higgins tweeted was cap. So I guess he thinks the guys are lying about they're trying to keep T. Higgins. So we'll see.
Well, I don't think unless you're going to give him a blockbuster, I'd trade.
Look, it's the market, Scotty. To your point, I think I know where you're going. I'm not looking to pay a receiver $30 million a year yet.
No,
I'm just not.
I would bump up Cortland Sutton a little bit. I would find somebody in the second or third round. Now that's what I would do.
Well, I'm with you. I would worry about linebacker. This is supposed to be a hell of a draft for defensive linemen. You could get you a new, you go get a Jackson. You know, maybe you go get Jackson like we used to have. What was his first name? Help me out. Malik Jackson, my guy. I apologize. Malik was always my guy. One of the dudes that always talked. Matter of fact, when we went to Jacksonville in 2017, I went and gave Malik a big old hug in the locker room because he was one of the few guys that still he was always a fun guy to talk to. But go get you a young Malik Jackson. Go find another Danny Trevathan type linebacker. You haven't had that since the guy left. You know, another safety's probably not the worst thing either. Jeremy Perea saying, I don't want to go through another Jake Butt rehabilitation. I'm with you. You know,
go get you another Al Wilson.
Right. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Go get you.
I'm with you. Nice little thumper. Right. Look, I am curious to see how this offseason is going to go. I'll tell you what made me a little sick. Mel Kiper, and I keep hearing this rumor, so it bugs me, but they're saying the Raiders are going to go get a veteran quarterback and draft Ashton Genty. Better watch the Raiders a little bit now, man. Pete Carroll's going to make that up. This could be a real tough division next year for everybody involved, not just the Broncos.
What if they went and drafted Genty at 6 and got
Stafford
or Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, the cousin thing is going to be interesting. I feel like, remember last year when you and I were saying don't release Russ outright? I feel like the Falcons are going to do what you and I talked about. I'm going to test your ego. If I cut you, I'm going to have to pay the money anyway. Now, what the Falcons have that the Broncos didn't is Penix and Cousins have coexisted already. But the Falcons are out there at the Combine today saying, look, man, we'll just keep him then. We'll pay him his money, and he'll be a backup. And I think that's kind of a, hey, man, does your ego like you being a backup? Because you're going to give us some of that money back if you're going to get out of here. You know, because if we're going to just pay dead cap hit, we don't need to let you go anywhere and play on the cheap like Russ did. So the Falcons might do that with Cousins. But likely they won't.
A full year to kind of get healthy, and then who knows? You know Penix will go down for a game or two.
Yeah.
Runs.
Yeah. So we'll see. But the bottom line is there are better veteran options this year than there was a year ago. Yeah. So, and that may make the draft more interesting. What is your take? I kind of stepped in there and the headphones weren't at your station, so I couldn't hear everything. But what was your take on, I know Tyler didn't like Matt Miller complaining about Shedeur not throwing, but I got to tell you, I'd like to go see Shedeur throw. I think he's a good enough athlete. I wouldn't duck this thing. Go throw, man. Go do it.
Well,
go show him what you are.
There was one conspiracy theory out that he doesn't want to show him anything, and he doesn't care if he drops it because he wants to go to the Raiders.
Okay, but if the Raiders go get a veteran guy, which is going to happen, the Raiders can go get a veteran guy in 2 weeks when the new league year starts. So that'll be figured out. What you're going to go blow the combine and then find out the Raiders already went. What if they don't want a quarterback at 6?
True.
You know?
Well, listen, he's going to go first round somewhere. So,
well, Kuiper had him mocked to the Jets. I wouldn't want to go. I'd want to go to the Raiders, I think, before the Jets.
I would pray not to go to the Jets.
Although they're both kind of wacky owners. So, all right. We had a question earlier from Kelton, and I'll try to go up and find it. There it is. Who do the Avs trade for to solve the scoring problem? Kelton, I have no idea. You know who I think, Kelton? I would tell you this, and I don't think, Scotty, you and I have said this before. I don't know that you need the sniper. You need the complementary players right now. This team needs complementary players, okay? Nate just can shoot. McKinnon can shoot. But you need the grinder. You need another Lehkonen. You need another – I would go get a Ryan O'Reilly, frankly. You need a Ryan O'Reilly. You need the scrappy dude in front of the net that's going to knock home the garbage. You need the dude that's going to stand in front of the goalie and take away the eyes. Team Canada. Let's go back to Team Canada during the Four Nations. I was complaining to Scotty about this. Team Canada had a bunch of dudes that aren't used to having to be in the net front presence. So guess what? They shot a bunch of shots that Hellebuck could see, and they scored 1 goal on a breakaway. That was it. They need grinders, Scotty.
Yeah. The Pittsburgh Penguins come in March 4th.
The Penguins?
Yeah.
Well, if Sidney Crosby's going to get traded here, and I wouldn't be against it, who wouldn't love to see that? It'd be like getting Ray Bork or Rob Blake here. It'd be great. But there's still nothing that confirms that Sidney Crosby's actually going to say, yes, I don't want to be in Pittsburgh anymore.
Right.
So it means a lot to some guys to play their whole career in a place.
Here's what I put out. It'd be great. I think it'd be cool to have him. Ray Bork, what a fabulous year and a half. That being said, there's a difference between Sidney Crosby and Ray Bork.
Right.
Ray Bork had no cups by the time they moved him here, and that was a favor Boston was doing. Let's send him to a good team to see if he can get a chance to win a cup.
And I think they honestly thought he'd only play that last month or two as an Av. I don't think they saw him coming back for that last year.
And Sidney Crosby's got 3.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. So, but look, man, they need some big defensemen too. They are not big enough defensively with Manson out. It's a problem. But
I don't know names to be able to tell you to sit here and say, well, I would get this. But I'm with you, and you and I have been arguing this for 2 years, that they need a little more size in front of the net and on the blue line.
Well, Casey Middlestat, I read an article in The Athletic about him today as they talked about what each team could do in front of the deadline. Man, Middlestat, and I liked Casey. We had him on the show earlier in the year. I thought he had a pretty good playoff. I thought he showed well beginning of the year, but the numbers they quoted to prove his drop off, like he's not scoring. Now, they said he's had to play with different wingers, and that doesn't help. But that he also got a chance to play with Rantanen early in the year, and that didn't get his scoring up. He's been good on the power play, but he's terrible 5-on-5. He's a disaster defensively, which has bit him in the butt the last few games. It's rough, man. It sucks. But it says because he's a young center and everybody needs centers, the Avs can probably shop him. But we'll see, man. Scotty, if they show up and are in a funk these first couple games of this 6-game homestand, do you have to think actually about doing the opposite and not trading to compete this year, but trading to try to figure out a better formula next year?
You might
say blow it up, but
I think in this homestand you got to win 5 games, and I don't think
5 of 6.
I don't think that's outlandish to ask for. Now you just had a 4-game homestand, and you got what 3 points out of that, out of a possible 8. You got 1 win and then lost in overtime, I think, in that last time they had a 4-game homestand.
Yep.
Yeah, you need to find a way to win 5 of the 6 games, I think.
Yeah, it's I would agree. I was hoping that they climb the wild card ranks, and I don't know if I still believe that's a possibility, but Oh well. Oh well. Hey, by the way, I heard you talking about needing some to do in Wisconsin. You know, my buddy, our cow guy, Jeremy, lives out there. I can hook him up with you if you still need something.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm right there. I got HDTV right there.
T-Bone hits what you and I have talked about a lot in private. Crazy how much of the trajectory of the Nuggets and Avs are in the window of. We can't waste any more years off these guys' primes at all. That's the pressure, man. Whether it's McCarr, McKinnon, Joker, Jamal. Here's another true statement, too. Yes, they desperately need Val back. Do you realize between suspension and injury, Val's played like 21 games? Just is not enough. There's too much money tied up. And, like, I will tell everybody, when it comes to Gabe, they're using Gabe's money now that he's on LTIR. So that's not really going to waste. But they're getting nothing out of Val's money right now, and that just can't be how it works, period.
And reports are Val may play tomorrow.
Well, good. I hope so. I hope so. They need him to. They need the size back. They desperately need some physical presence out there, man. You finally, look, I credit Chris McFarland, made a bunch of trades until he figured out the Mackenzie Blackwood thing and got Wedgwood and got that all figured out. But, dude, I'm guessing you didn't see the game the other night, right?
No.
They could have been more flat. There was nobody hitting anybody. Nobody really got in a fight to kind of stir it up. Keaton Middleton wasn't even playing. But it was crazy, man. It just was, I don't know, Scotty. It's
on vacation. You're still on vacation, and your two most important best players have just been working for 10 straight days.
Yeah, I know. Well, and Lehkonen, too. Lehkonen didn't work as long as those two, but he got knocked. Remember, Lehkonen played through Monday. You know, I mean, nobody really got a break. So, anyway, all right, my friend. I think we've done all we can do here. We were so close to hitting 500 viewers. I almost wanted to stay on until we could do that, but we keep popping up and down, popping up and down. We've tickled 500 a couple of times, but it's great to have you all along. Catch the replay if you've missed it. And we'll do this again. Oh, see, they're threatening. We're tickling 5. Oh, we're almost there. We're almost there, Scotty. Hold on. It may happen. Let's see. We just need one more. Which way is it going to go? I need 5. I got 499. Got 499 over there. Can I get a 5? Can I get a 5 for one more? I need one more over there. He's just staring at me with 499. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Dude, we're stuck on 499 right now. Come on. One more. We just need one. Oh, they went the other way. People bailed on us.
They got tired of you yelling.
And I got too loud. Sorry, all. You ought to really put up with me. All right, everybody have a great week. We'll do this again next week. Again, when are the Nuggets? You're not home until late next week, right?
No, we play Sunday afternoon in Boston. I think we got a game Tuesday and Thursday at home, so we could do Wednesday.
We'll aim for Wednesday next week, folks. We got Mammoth prime time tomorrow. If you're into it, a bunch of trades. We got Brett Craig who got in a fight, kind of like you got in a fight last game. Just got sick of it. Just housed a guy into the ground. It was kind of crazy. Frankly, I think the Avs needed to do that. Our sideline reporter was like, we needed that about a quarter ago. They waited too long to do it.
Did you see that hit, by the way, real fast, that Rob Ray took in the forehead?
500, by the way. Yeah, dude. Did you see where they put him tonight?
He was at the very top of the arena.
Yeah. Could you have handled a puck to the face, bro?
Well,
you're a former pro athlete that took a few fists to the face.
Remember, we had that meeting, and D-Mac goes, well, you know, maybe we could put Rogers down there in the middle of Raj or Tanner or any of those guys they want to throw down, it would have killed them.
Dude, seriously, are they going to have to make sideline guys start wearing helmets? I think they might.
The face shield. That would have helped.
Listen, I don't care how long. You and I have sat behind the dugout at Coors Field, man. It's terrifying. If a guy turns on one of those and fouls it off, you got no shot at getting out of the way of that thing, dude. It's same with a puck. Dude, you're not following that. Come on, man.
Well, especially if you're looking at up ice. You're
right.
At the other side to see if there's going to be a break on the other side or something.
We could put you there. It would have hit you in the stomach.
Hey, Rob ain't that much littler than me.
Wouldn't have hit you in the forehead, though.
It'll probably knock my teeth out.
That would have been good. Hey, Toothless would have been great with your little skinny beard.
Right.
All right. You guys all have a great day. Have a great night. We appreciate you checking in. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. We'll do it about 9:00. And because you'll be back in the Denver time zone, and make sure you check out Scott Hastings on the show tomorrow, noon to 3. I'll be along with Nate Kreckman, 3 to 6, more draft stuff and all that. Good night, all.